Okay, great. I think we can kick off. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everybody who is here today to today's meeting. I'd like to say a warm welcome to all the people who are in the house today. Good evening. Today we have a very interesting conversation topic, and we have a very distinguished person in our midst who will be teaching and talking to us today. I'd like to do the honors of introducing him to most of us. Interestingly, I have my notes. I always have my notes ready every night, ready to take my notes as well. So tonight is not an exception. I'm sure that we will all have a lot that we will learn. I'd like to say welcome to everybody that is here. If you're listening to us either on this platform or on the other live platforms where you're getting to hear about this, it's about growing your leadership. We believe very passionately that leadership is one of the key things that if we get correctly in this country, not only at the level of political leadership, but all the way from every human, every employee, every business person, it will go a long way to sort a number of things. Today, we have a very distinguished personality that is going to be speaking with us. He's had a number of very interesting experiences in leadership. He's come a long way. I'd like to introduce some of us and welcome to the podium today, Mr. Tunde Falase. I hope I got the pronunciation correctly.
Yes, you did.
Okay, excellent. So, Mr. Tunde Falase is the managing director, CEO of Braincraft, and the faculty lead for Braincraft Knowledge Series. He's a chartered accountant, a seasoned marketing, human resources, and management professional with over 20 years senior management and board level experience in key roles in blue chip multinationals and across various geographies. He's been a former human resource director and marketing director at Cadbury Nigeria PLC, a former marketing director of Guinness Nigerian PLC. His 20-year blue chip FMCG experience also saw him to head up finance, strategy, and professional training roles across many markets, including UK, Russia, Africa, India, and the Middle East. So he was a member of both the strategy and marketing faculties for Cadbury Schweppes and the Diageo Brand Building Academy. In these capacities, he has conducted many training programs in marketing, human resources, and management across the globe. Having trained and coached more than 4,000 senior managers across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, Tunde's training philosophy is to go beyond teaching and to put a premium on imparting learning through the knowledge series. Tunde is qualified in leadership, strategy, and marketing. He uses these skills to lead, influence, and support management and develop strong client and stakeholder relationships. Braincraft's history and assignments include MTN, BAT, Skybank, Sterling Bank, Stanbic IBTC, GE, Total, amongst others. Tunde coaches leaders to understand their capabilities and leadership styles and to use this to best benefit their organizations. He coaches businesses to grow and identify opportunities for success. He coaches individuals to fully realize their potentials, either for personal development or for career progression. He coaches teams to collaborate better and improve output and productivity. Tunde is a member of the Institute of Management Consultants, a fellow of the International Academy of Business and Financial Managers, IAB-FM. He has an international certification in advanced leadership skills, ICALS. Today, we have the opportunity of gleaning from this wide range and variety of learning, of development, of enlightenment. If we were going to be paying for this, we would averagely not be able to afford it. But it's so exciting that we have him here today, and he's going to be sharing with us for the next 45 minutes. Please, as you listen, please put your questions together. Get ready to learn. Normally in our classes, we have over 100 people participating. So if you people come late, hopefully we'll have a lot more on time today. I'd like you to, just type a warm welcome, put an emoticon, clap if you can, as I welcome Tunde Falase to speak with us and lead us today. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Adeolu, and good evening, all of you. It's really exciting to be here. My first regret is that perhaps I should have sent a shorter profile, Adeolu, but otherwise,
it's good. Okay.
It's really exciting to be here. And Deolu's told you about my background. Let me just speak to when he mentioned the topic. This is a topic that I could speak on copiously because I think a lot of you, I hope, will recognize by the end of this talk that this concept of leaders executing is something that runs true for us all in all aspects of our life. There's something, I'm a big fan of acronyms, and one of my biggest acronyms when I'm training is what I call the LSA, and the LSA means the life skill alert. So it means ignore the topic of the screen. This concept goes beyond management, goes beyond leadership in the organization. Execution goes to your success in life, be it as a family woman, a family man, and the like. So I hope to be able to unpack this. I'm going to try and do justice to it in 45 minutes, and I'm really looking forward to getting your questions to see your take on this. So I'm going to try and do this in an interactive way. So please stay close to the chat button. And in fact, that's going to be my very first thing as I kick this off. I want to kick it off with a question, a little bit of a teaser. So let me put some faces up on the screen. Let me just tap. Yes. Okay. So let me put up these people. We have a pilot. We have a striker. The football aficionados, if I can use that word, will recognize Messi. We have a surgeon. We have a firefighter. And we have a builder. So let me open up chat. Can anybody tell me the answer to this question? And what's the question? Oops, I put the answer. Let me just go back. The question is, what do they all have in common? What do all of these people have in common? Can I see your answers in chat? Let's look at the fastest fingers. Okay. They create value. I like that. Fame. Yeah. Okay. Let me see a couple more. Passion. Okay. The smile, somebody put. Responsibility, somebody put. Enthusiasm. People. Okay. All right. They're all human. Okay. Good. Aha. Now, some people are putting the answer, but we still have others. Commitment. They're professionals. They all have work to do. Professionals. Okay. Goals. Readiness. All right. So let me start by saying I agree with all of that. And let me also be fair to say that a couple of people, they render a service at the peak of their career. I like that one. Okay, so let me address it. Let me show you what my answer is. Let me just minimize chat. And here's my answer. And some of you did put this. Be it a pilot, be it a striker, be it a surgeon, be it a firefighter, be it a builder, they're all measured on this parameter. They're all measured by execution. They're measured by their results and not by the effort. Can you imagine having a conversation with the pilot to say, how's it going so far? Oh, we're trying. We're putting in a lot of effort. Isn't that going to be a weird conversation? Can you imagine Messi having a conversation around renewing his contract and his demand for earning £750,000 a week? Do you know why he gets £750,000 a week? Because as my youngest boy taught me, he's a mad soccer fan, and he allowed me to understand the rating that the FIFA game has for all players. And he let me know that managers use those same ratings. So Messi has the highest rating in FIFA. He has a rating of 94, I believe it is. And what the 94 means is that his striking ability, his defense ability are all measured based on trend, all based on results. So if Messi is in a situation that looks impossible, Messi will score. Why? Because he executes. It's not about 90 minutes of effort. It's about, if you put me on a field for 90 minutes, pay me 70, 50 pounds a week because I will score 90% of the time. I don't need to tell you about a conversation with your surgeon. And you ask him, how did the operation go? It lasted 4 hours. Has he said anything? Has she said anything? So these are people, I'm trying to paint a picture right at the outset that there are a lot of people around us whose day job is execution. Indeed, if this was a different forum, we have a program called Unleash Your Potential. We teach people that perfection is possible. A pilot operates at perfection. Do you know what happens if a pilot lands a plane 1 degree off or takes off 1 degree off? Excellent is not a good description for a pilot's work each day. So I would ask, one of the things you could do, Google the likes of Lewis Hamilton. The difference between Lewis Hamilton, he's a Formula One driver, world champion, and his most ardent competitor or rival, a guy called Bottas. The difference between them is 0.2 seconds a lap. And what does that mean? It means if the race is 72 laps, they will drive a car at 320 kilometers an hour. That's the speed of a Formula One car. And they would, Lewis Hamilton consistently on every lap will be 0.2 of a second faster than Bottas. That is perfection. That is execution. So let's delve further into it. And since the topic Deolo asked me to speak about is leaders execute, I first want to give you 2 quick definitions of leadership so that we ensure that we're all approaching this from the same hymn sheet. I'm going to give you my definition first, and then I'll give you a much better definition by the gentleman you see at the bottom of the screen, okay, Steve Jobs. So what's my definition? A leader is a person who possesses the ability to galvanize. And that word, the higher up you go in leadership, the more that word is going to be used quite often when you're not in the room. When people are assessing leadership capability, can she galvanize the troops? Can she galvanize her team? So a leader is one who possesses the ability to galvanize a committed group of followers towards the achievement of a collective goal. There are many keywords there that I'm not going to touch on for now because I want to tilt this conversation more into execution and not necessarily just on leadership. But there's a lot of keywords in that definition. But let me give you a better definition. This is my favorite definition of all time of what leaders do. And I'm going to see if anybody can spot the most important word in this definition. Yes, it's by Steve Jobs. And this is how he defined it. A manager gets people to do things they don't really want to do, while a leader inspires you to do things you never knew you could. So imagine that. The day your career intersects with a true leader, you will never forget that experience because a true leader will take you from a lower place to a better place at the minimum. And you will hit many results along that journey. And yes, you can tell what the key word there is. The key word there, yes, indeed, some people are putting that up already, is inspires. Okay? So an inspirational leadership means the leader is not in the room. She has left the room and people are still working as if the leader is in the room because that leader inspires. So that's one of the biggest things that the leader must be able to do, to inspire. So let's move on. Deolu, I hope my messages that are coming in on my screen are not being shared as well. No, okay, all right, good, because that's fine. So now looking at the various definitions of leadership, right? And I want to just, I'm going to show you a bubble cloud, a word cloud, if you may, of some of the different things that come up in different definitions of leadership. So let me put it up. Positive, fruitful, result, objective, deliver, achievement, and perform. And you'll notice that all of these different words have one truth in common, albeit expressed in a different way. And what is that truth? Let me express it in a way not expressed here, but I hope it's coming out from the word go. And what that truth is the word execute. So the first premise that I will put forward to you based on my experience, my career to date, the ultimate expectation of the leader is to execute her brief. The ultimate expectation. So I remember when I became company treasurer, I became company treasurer at a very young age. I was really excited about it. And I was having my handover. The former treasurer was handing over to me, Mr. Musowo, a lovely man. And I think he could tell that I was excited, that I was already putting on the company treasurer swag. And so he had to burst my bubble. So he said, Tunde, congratulations. You're the youngest treasurer this company has ever had. But that is history. I would like to remind you that I was the first treasurer who has been able to complete his brief. If you recall, the last two treasurers before me had challenges. Both through not their faults, but the system nonetheless was compromised and they had issues. So he said he would encourage me to know that history will never take away my company treasurership, but history will also want to know what type of treasurer was I. And that's why if you look at that powerful word history, what is history? His story. So what kind of story, Tunde, are you going to write as treasurer? That burst my bubble immediately. So my focus, of course, was, wow, I need to start thinking of what I'm going to achieve, what I'm going to do, as opposed to what I'm going to enjoy. The higher up you go, this sentiment is made even more challenging. And let me tell you why. The organization is a triangle. So the faster your leadership journey, or the longer your leadership journey, the more you find this challenge. As this expectation of execution is not hard enough, you have to, more times than others, achieve it through others. So again, I'm going to be focusing on execution, but let me give you a tip. So this might ward off some of the questions that might come down the line. One of the things that allows you to achieve through others is the word inspiration. If you have the opportunity to be on an inspirational leadership program, I'll encourage you to take it on. I'm running a session next week for another blue chip on inspirational leadership. It's a very powerful thing, okay? But so let's stick to our brief and let's unpack, execute. Can somebody very quickly on chat, I said I want to make this interactive, fastest finger, can somebody put a quick definition in your words of execution? And I'm going to call out your name. Let me give you a shout out. So who's the fastest finger? What's your definition of execution? Somebody put to kill someone. I'm only teasing, okay? I'm just breaking the ice. Okay, carry out, delivering results. Good, I like that. That's Shade, that's Shola. Abiodun, getting things done. Accomplish, oh wow, that is excellent. That's excellent, okay? Get things done. Do, oh John, I like that one. Do, 2 letters, okay? Good. I think we're on the same page. Let me, as you typically see in these type of presentations, let me put the Queen's English definition. It's a verb. Put into effect. The corporation executed a series of financial deals. Similar concepts, carry out, accomplish. You see all the power words coming now. Perform, implement, effect, bring off, bring about, achieve, carry off, carry through. So I'm going to give you a quick insight on this. I'm trying to make a powerful case for execution. If we were to ask people to define the word potential, I would ordinarily ask you to do that, but I have 45 minutes, so let me manage the time. Typically, you will hear people say untapped power, hidden talent, ability to do. Well, let me share with you, I have a new definition of potential. Well, it's a bit old now. And it came to me many years ago when I was asked to be a speaker at a session. It was a session for Total. And they had 4 speakers. Oluwakanbi, the first Nigerian MD of Mobil, Biola Alabi, Tony Elumelu, and myself. And it was at some hall in Lekki. I have never seen, they projected on the wall. I have never seen a screen so big in my life. And I've been in some pretty impressive places for presentations. It was the most massive screen. Now, when they presented Tony Elumelu's profile, projected it, acquired this, turned this around, built this, went to Zambia, did that, did an amalgamation, created a stripped this, built it up. The thoughts going through my mind were the exact opposite of what you heard me tell Deolu at the start of this presentation, where I said, next time I'll send you a shorter profile. Then I was saying, oh my goodness, I thank God I told my staff to take this, oh, please send your profile seriously And they sent in a pretty decent profile as well. Because Tony Lumelu's profile looked phenomenal. Why? Because of the things he had achieved. And from that day on, I had a better sense of the meaning of the word potential. And it is what I call potential is unclaimed achievements. So there are many achievements waiting for you to claim if you choose to do them. And in the word of Nice singer, the song Gongwaso means that the drum will beat your story and tell the story of how you changed the legal profession in Africa, or how you changed the supply chain profession in Africa, how they're using your models in Europe, if you do those things. But if you don't, the achievements are waiting for you to claim, but you never claim them. And remember this, in life, your definition, the way you define something, determines your direction and your destination. So when you put in that definition, accomplishments, achievements for potential, you become a person who's already setting his ship or her ship towards the paradigm of execution. Let's move forward. The ultimate expectation, we said, of the leader is to execute his brief. If you don't operate on this premise as a leader, you do have a choice. I've been brought in here to know that from this part of the battlefront, the game is won. So CEO, next time you look here, it's delivered, right? If you don't operate on this premise as a leader, and you are focusing on your title, as I was doing when I became company treasurer for all of 3 hours until I had my orientation. You're focusing on your title and not your role. Not everybody can be a leader. You have been chosen to be a leader. You have careers in your hand, but more importantly, you also, well, equally importantly, you also have the fate of the organization in your hands. So, the concept of leadership, of execution, is not a leadership abstract. It is merely a concise definition of the essence of leadership. I'm talking about all types of leadership. Are you a wife? There's a leadership paradigm. Are you a mother? There's a leadership paradigm. What kind of mother are you? If you measure yourself as execution, this is what I did as a mother. This is what I did as head of supply chain. Then you are talking about the essence of why we call you leader and not team member, not family member, right? So another tip that I would drop at this stage, because I'm going to go shortly into 8 habits that drive execution. But I want to just drop one thing that we normally speak about when we're looking at developing a concept of leadership, because it does link to execution. So what is my best definition of execution? PMPK, promises made are promises kept. This is something that takes 5 seconds for you to adopt, but can create a chasm, a transformational leap in your rating as a leader. Are you the type of person that the biggest reason why that thing is going to happen is because I said it will happen? That is what we call the execution mindset, and that is a massive attitudinal shift. So what claims are you making? What proclamations are you making? The proclamation, you predict it, you plan it, and then you deliver it. But adopting PMPK is one big guarantee that is going to set you towards a journey of execution. So I'd like to share with you now 8 habits. There are many habits, but I've tried to pull together 8 habits that I think a leader with the execution mindset should have. If we do have the time, I will also then just show you one of my favorite books on the topic. And in keeping with the digital times, I will show you my summary of this book. And Deolu, by all means, I can mail that to you and then send it out. You can send it out to the house, okay? So that's a quick way of saving time. So let me get into my 8 habits, and then I'll see whether I can do the book summary. Okay. So 8 habits that drive executions. And why do I call them habits? You are what you do frequently. You are what you do regularly. You are not really what you do in crisis. You're not what you do when you have a deadline put on you. You are what you do daily. The best way I put this is the beautiful city of Rome was not built in a day, but the beautiful city of Rome was built beautifully day by day. They didn't wait until the end of the 3-month project and then rush and build it. It would not be the beautiful city of Rome. It was just called Rome. So what you do day by day is what defines you. So the first thing that I like a habit for the executing leader is envisioning the end. When you have a vision of what the end looks like, what you are doing immediately is telling yourself it is possible. JFK told us that whatever the human mind can conceive, it can achieve. Do you know that there are some people who actually de-envision themselves? CEO says, you know what, we need to grow by 10% next month if we're going to survive. And mentally, your first reaction is, ha is not envisioning the end. Ha is envisioning the effort that you're already suggesting you are not capable of running. Your team is not capable of running. But if your immediate reaction is yes, why not? The immediate picture that you're going to see in your mind is the solution, and it becomes easy to work your way back from that solution. So having a clear picture of your end result will help sharpen your expectations massively and prompt the measures you put in place to achieve this. In the times we're in, can I encourage that this is something that all leaders need to be thinking about right now? I do not need to go into the rude awakening the world has had into the nightmare of the COVID-19 era. But there are people who are still delivering, not planning to deliver, and I'm going to give you some examples. There are people who are already delivering in this new era because they're not focusing on the challenge, they're focusing on the realization that it can be done. They are envisioning the end. If you can see the result can happen, okay? So that's my first habit. It's a straightforward one. I'm going to build up into the more complex one. What's the next habit? The next habit, plan from the beginning. You should always be on a plan. So businesses thrive on plans, strategy, and effort. The biggest thing, a question I used to ask in strategy is, what's the difference between a strategy and a plan? In fact, let me ask that. Can anybody tell me what's the difference between a strategy and a plan? Because there's an important difference. A strategy is not a plan. Anybody? The difference between a strategy and a plan? Fastest finger. A plan is what to do. That's for Martinuke. Close. A plan is what. A strategy is how. Ooh, I like that. Strategy is how to carry out the plan. Okay. Okay. So let me give a clue. A plan is a strategy plus something. A plan is a strategy plus something. And when you have your strategy ideations, your strategy development process at the tail end of the year, strategy retreats, yeah? You come out of it with a plan. That plan is a strategy plus something. No, not action. Being paid nice one, not action. Let me give you a clue. Not execution. Nice one, Shadi. It starts with T. A good plan is a strategy plus something that starts with T that you should formulate at the strategy development session. And that is what a lot of organizations get wrong. Not time, not timeline. Okay, let me save time and the timeline by telling you what it is. A lot of organizations make the mistake. The biggest thing that kills a strategy is the headwinds that would always constrain your execution. There's no budget. Policy is going to change. Regulations are going to change. There's demotivation. You have the union challenge. So you have to say, we have a strategy, but we know the headwinds that are going to not target. You then have to say, what are the tactics that we're going to use to address this as we try and turn the strategy into action? And so your tactics mean at the strategy review session, that is when you turn to the CEO and say, but we're going to need an extra budget for that. Because your strategy stakeholders are in the same room as to where you can then formulate the right type of tactics. So exactly, well done, Bukola. A plan is a strategy with tactics. That's correct. Okay, so let me go to the third because I'd moved the screen. So we've done two, and let's look at the third. The third leadership habit. The third leadership habit, the first was having envisioning the end. The second was planning from the beginning. The third is having a solution mindset. And this is a very powerful one. Why? What is it about the solution mindset? Well, the solution mindset means the only thing that works for you is a result. So this type of leader is one that expects the best and prepares for the worst and is never thrown off balance. This type of leader never fails. It is a fact that you never fail in life if you take learnings when you have a disappointment. If you take learnings, you have learned what not to do next time, which is the story of the ancient Greeks and how they raced up in terms of their civilization quotient. So the solution mindset is resolute on delivering the desired result and has the belief that there is always a way. Let me give you my generator example. What is my generator example? Your 10-year-old daughter is going to have her birthday party, 10 years birthday party on Sunday. And because she's 10, it's going to be your normal 4 to 6. Or I don't know whether it's 4 to 8 nowadays, but let's say 4 to 6. Now, Murphy's Law kicks in. At 12 p.m. on that Sunday, they take light. At 1 p.m., the generator stops working. And if you're one of those people that uses an inverter, the inverter goes down as well. And 3 hours to go to your daughter's 10th birthday. Are you telling me, as you're watching me on this screen, are you telling me that that birthday is not going to take place? Are you telling me that you're going to accept that because it's a Sunday, there's no solution that you can put in place? Are you telling me you're not going to find the generator man that works on Sunday? Or somebody who knows a generator workshop and you're going to get a key? You know that that birthday is going to happen. So why isn't that happening at work? When you have the solution mindset, you will say yes before you know how you're going to do it. But because you said the yes, you have the assurance that you will always figure out a way to do it. And this is the power that leaders leverage through their teams, because this is where creativity, if you inspire your team, creativity will come. Creativity equals diversity squared. That is why you need to have, you have a team full of 5 Tundes, you don't have a team. You have 1 Tunde. But if you have different people, Deolu, Tinuke, Shade, different people on that team, and you are an inspirational leader, solutions will always come. Which is why I want to just throw up something here. I want to throw up the concept of one of the companies that when this whole COVID thing happened, the COVID thing has devastated a world that was already been devastated by recessions and AI. AI is hitting the so-called developed world. It's taking away 80% of jobs. It's retransforming the workplace as we know it. And then COVID came along and fast-tracked it. Some of you will have seen what Google said yesterday. Google said, you know what? Till summer 2021, everybody's working from home. Google has already said that. The world has changed. And all of a sudden, certain sectors are becoming redundant. At least redundant until there's a vaccine. People will argue, look at what I just said about Google, that even when a vaccine comes in, we will have now found a way of understanding what is efficient and what makes sense about our new ways of working. So some sectors may disappear. Hotels are challenged at the moment. Hotels are huge wasting assets. The average hotel that is either 5 years old or has done a refurbishment in the last 5 years is on leverage. It's on financing. They're paying some serious interest on some serious loans. And at the moment, there are three mainstays: accommodation for travelers, accommodation for events, and events in themselves have disappeared. You now have what is called a wasting asset, and you are paying interest. You're getting calls 3 times a day from the bank. What do you do? Solution mindset. A hotel is doing food and they're doing laundry. If you're going to work, that's not the issue. The issue is that they're doing something about it. Another thing to point out is you have 64% of Nigeria is 25 years below. That's a useful stat that a lot of our clients are very passionate about. MTN Pulse, Wema Bank, Alert, they're chasing the fact that the market is shifting. It's moving into the generation, I call it the 64% of the Nigerians who are 60, and it's a similar demographic around the world. So we're talking about the Gen Zs, 15 and below are the Gen Alphas. They speak a different language to you and me. Now, I'm not going to unpack too much. I just want to pick out one thing from the Gen Z box. The Gen Zs of today have a solution mindset. If you are a team lead, you need to leverage the young talent you have because they do not know much about failure. They have seen so many things work that their mentality is that all things can work, and why not? So by default, they're thinking outside the box. You see the statement, this is a McKinsey share from McKinsey and ProShare. The search for the truth is at the root of all Gen Zs. So leverage the Gen Zs you have in the team. I was at a Guinness event 2 days ago. When I say I was at a Guinness event, you know I mean it was a Zoom event, and it was run by 2 excellent Gen Zs, Burge and Lala. I'm giving them a shout out, okay? It was amazing. And the CEO was on the session as well. And he spoke about it, that at Guinness now we have young talent and they're doing great things. If you're not a young talent, do not panic, you're enrolled. No. And if you're not a young talent, you're likely to be a leader, right, by role. I'm saying leverage the young talent. Creativity equals diversity squared. Don't push them away, inspire them. A lot of your answers are going to come through that young talent, okay? They don't know much about failure. They understand success. Let me go to the 4th habit. I hope I'm tracking well for time.
Yeah, good.
Excellent. Okay, so the 4th habit. The 4th habit, inspire creativity. Inspire creativity, right? If your default is why, we have to increase by 4%. Why? That's your default. Over time, you have trained yourself professionally not to express the why out, but the why is still going in your mind. Please change it. Change it today. Change it to why not. A good leader will inspire the creative part of team members. If you can do that, you'll be amazed at what they bring to the table. And you can inspire creativity. Tell them why not. Hey, you know what? I need us to do this different. Come back to me with 4 different ways. They love that type of challenge. But don't be the one giving them the challenges and at the same time say, but remember that we can't, remember that we don't. No. Keep it open. I'll share an example with you of something that we felt could never happen. How many of us know Smirnoff Ice? Smirnoff Ice.
Yep.
Let me show you. We all know the drink Smirnoff Ice. Okay. This is the original color of the Smirnoff Ice can. Silver and red. Okay. And many years ago, when I was in Guinness, as a lot of our competition was doing, we also said, let's go into can, because can had become a new format that was doing great guns. And obviously it meant you had lower price outlays. So it was a huge opportunity to expand. So we're going into can. And immediately the brand team, the global brand team said, okay, can you give us your mock-ups of your can and let know the sizing. And of course the color is going to be silver and red. But something occurred to me. And I asked them to bring, because we did focus groups twice a month, where you sit down with the consumer to understand what your brand really is. The consumer tells you what your brand is. You don't tell the consumer what your brand is. And so the focus group research, I remembered, had come up with something interesting about Smirnoff Ice, the drink. Then we only had it in a bottle. Somebody said, it's a rich man's palm wine. And that's interesting. I mean, I come from Elisha, and so I take palm wine, okay? And yes, it has that silvery whiteness about it. And if you ask our typical customer, what is the color of palm wine? They will not say silver, they will say white, right?
Mm.
So I said, you know what? Why don't we make the can white and red? Forget about the global brand team. My own brand team said, oh God, they will not agree. The global colors for Smirnoff Ice are silver and red. So I then put my neck on the line. And I'm saying it with humor now, but then it was a neck on the line decision. I said, no. I made a case. I know the volumetrics of my market. We're the biggest market in Africa. And I know that we were part of the can plan for Diageo. So, all right, you know what, Doug was our operations director then. I said, can you do a mock-up of a white and red can? This is what we came up with. That's a white and red can. And it looked lovely. Now, the rest is history because, of course, you know that this is the can that you know Smirnoff Ice in. And so that is the history of the white and red Smirnoff can. And there's a sub-note to that. I want to show you the can that they sell in the UK now, and they sell in the US now. That's the can. Don't say why, say why not. But be evidence-driven, be data-driven. If you drop a fact, you will always win the argument. What is the fact? An irrevocable and irrefutable truth. If you use that as the platform for your creativity, so you're coming up with ideas, but you're leveraging data, you're grounding them in data, you will always win the argument. Good. Moving on. I think we're on number 5. And what is number 5? Number 5, you heard me speak about it earlier on, but let me now put it there. Inspire potential. Bring out the best in the team. Every person in the team has their unique potential. Creativity equals diversity squared. So why they made you leader, please understand this, is not to solve, well, it is to solve the problem, but it is to solve the problem with the talent that the organization possesses. You have that talent in your hands. So a good leader is one who inspires potential in his teammates in such a way that they're comfortable maximizing it to the best of their abilities. Dale gave me an idea just now about how we could make this call more efficient, and I told Dale, what a rubbish idea. This is a instant case study, or it's not true. You saw the and I said, what a rubbish idea. Well, guess what? Tade was about to suggest something else. Do you think Tade is going to suggest that thing? Of course not. So your style is something that goes a long way in determining the way people will become the best that they can be. Remember that our fingers are not equal. So because you came through the hard knocks of corporate, do not presume that everybody can go through the hard knocks of corporate. People have different ways and different approaches. Nike celebrates that. I'm sure you're all familiar with that slogan. That slogan is 17 years old. It's one of the most effective payoff lines. And what it's saying is, just do it. One day I will, no, do it now. And that's why their whole modus operandi is to look for talent, look for potential, and they invest in it very early, and they follow it all the way through. Just do it. Potential means trusting, knowing where you're going. Remember we said the first habit is having a vision. You can have a vision for where you're going, but you must also have patience. I would like to very quickly read for you what Michael Jordan says about this. Yes, Michael Jordan. He said, look me in the eyes. It's okay if you're scared, so am I. But we are scared for different reasons. I am scared of what I won't become. And you are scared of what I could become. Look at me. I won't let myself end where I started. I won't let myself finish where I began. I know what is within me, even if you can't see it. Look me in the eyes. I have something more important than courage. I have patience. I will become what I know I am. I'll repeat that last sentence. I will become what I know I am. Lewis Hamilton is on video at 8 years old telling Dennis Dennis Rodman. No, not Dennis Rodman. Dennis, I forget his name. He was the MD CEO of McLaren. He told him, I will drive for you, 8 years old. I'll drive for you and I'm going to become a world champion. Yeah, I will become what I know I am. Okay? Good.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
go to number 6. Inspire resilience. Inspire resilience. Okay? We're talking about habits. What do you do day to day? In the era we're in, the so-called new normal, we're getting challenges every day. Every day. The so-called headwinds. But remember this, no good thing comes easy. Roosevelt said, many people do not know how close they were to success before they gave up. So in trying times, resilience is the cue, tailwind, that drives through the headwinds of life. The tailwinds are the things that propel you forward. So resilience is the cue, tailwind, that drives you through the headwinds of life. I'm going to explain what I mean by the cue, tailwinds shortly. Let me just share with you. Michael Jordan's take on it is what? Never say never, because limits like fears are often just an illusion. Limits like fears are often just an illusion. Let me go to the cues. What am I talking about? Can I ask anybody, IQ, EQ, SQ, which is the most important in the world we're in right now? I'm looking at chat. The new normal that we're in right now, which of these is the most important? SQ says Shade, McDonald says SQ as well. EQ, SQ, Debo, Esther says EQ. Oh, wow, it's 50-50. EQ is winning now, Cyril. I think IQ, Liami, okay. EQ, Atinuke, SQ, Bodupe. Wow, 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 wow. Okay, stop. I love, wow. Daily, we have some fastest fingers here. My goodness gracious. Okay, good. So let me stop. Stop. It's evenly balanced. Thank you, Gabriel. Do you know the biggest reason why I'm stopping you? Because you're all wrong. Let me rephrase the question or repeat the question. In the times we're in, which of the cues is the most important? Guess what? It's not even on the board. The most important cue right now is something known as AQ, the adversity quotient. And the adversity quotient is what informs, in times of challenge, your EQ and SQ reaction. And adversity quotients are quite singularly for what you do when you hit an obstacle, what you do when you face adversity. Do you know how many companies have folded up already? Do you know how many people have lost their jobs? What do you do? How does that become an opportunity? Emotional intelligence is defined as understanding that if you don't deal with anger, it can turn to rage. If you don't deal with sadness, it can turn to despondency. Despondency is the first step of the suicide quotient. So if you don't have AQ, so now increasingly find out that when people are talking about the Qs, we no longer talk about the 3 Qs because we are in a really challenged world. We talk about the 4 Qs. So IQ is very important. SQ is very important. So well done everybody that put SQ. EQ, of course, informs your SQ, but your adversity quotient. They say, if you are a leader who has not faced the crisis, I promise you, you do not know the type of leader you are, nor does the world. Until you have dealt with crisis, that is when you will know the type of leader that you are. Okay? All right, moving quickly on. I'm conscious of time. If it's 1 hour, I have 10 more minutes, so let me move very quickly. I would just want to share this with you. I'm a chartered accountant. I went to one of the best accounting schools at that time. It was known as Mayo. It was in Yaba. The drill was I was working at Union Bank, my NYSC. I was doing Chartered Institute of Banking exams and ICANN exams at the same time. I passed the ICANN ones, I passed the banking ones, and my dad still tells me to today, because I now forgot about the banking ones, that I was 2 papers short of becoming a professional banker. I had my ICANN, I was happy. One night in Mayo. I was reading 2 a.m. and I looked up, and scratched into the partition was this poem. And it really inspired me for life. I did not know then it was written by Robert Frost, but it was speaking to me. I was reading this at 2 a.m. and I was doing what we call TDB shift. I was going to read till daybreak. And I now looked at on the board, and it said, "The night is cold and dreary. The soul is dark and weary. But I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep." Wow. That was speaking to me. That was speaking to me. That is resilience. So what is it that you use to face adversity? I am bigger than, what is your message? So I would encourage, I told you I might do a book summary. I'm not sure I'm going to have time for that, but we're in a digital world now. Read up on AQ. There's so much going on in that area. There's so much going on, okay? Moving on. I'm now on the 7th. Communicate to ignite. Communicate to ignite. We're running a strategy thing in August, first week in August, for a big company, a huge company. And it's the second one. We ran one at the beginning of the year. So yes, I can tell you the results since I haven't told you the company name. We ran it at the beginning of the year, but it's a massive FMCG, grade A. And they had gone through some challenges. And so one of their directors called me to say, "Tunde, I need to turn around my team. I need to light a fire." So we created a program for them called ITF1, Ignite a Fire. And we put in all types of things to galvanize. That's why you saw that I had a passion for that word at the beginning of this session. And guess what? They did better than last year. Hey, the company is supposed to do better than last year. Go and check how many companies have done better than last year in the world we're in today. Mm-hmm. So they are massively excited. So against the norm, rather than waiting for next year, we're doing ITF2, Ignite the Fire 2. We're doing it next week, or on the 5th of August, okay? One of the things we spoke about in the session is the way you communicate. If you tell the team, "We have one more chance to do this. People, we have to execute this thing. The company is relying on us. Team, can we do this?" They will say yes, and your target has died right there. Remember, I said not everybody can be a leader. Those of you who did NYSC, is that how the drill sergeant will wake you up at 4 a.m.? Did they say Ajuwaya? Or did they scream Ajuwaya? And you find yourself bounding out to the drill square. You know why? Because that drill sergeant, he does that thing on the war front. When he says charge, people don't hesitate. They leap out of the trench and they start charging towards the forest, towards certain death. So not everybody can be a drill sergeant. Not everybody can be a leader. If you're a leader, you must be able to communicate to ignite. I've taken a small phrase from our communication program. We have an effective communication program. I don't have the time to go through it now. So if anybody wants to ask that question, then I'll answer in the questions, okay? Effective communication is not passing a message from one party to another with a feedback loop. No, that is not effective communication. There's a stronger definition of that. So if somebody asks that question, I will answer that when we get to questions. But so communicate to ignite. And then let me go to the last habit. And what is the last habit? LBE at all times. Lead by example. You cannot say fire, 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 and you go back looking dull. The leader is always the center of attention, whether you recognize it or not. It's the cross you bear as the leader. An outstanding team is likely to be the result of an outstanding leader. So do what you want the team to do, talk how you want the team to talk, execute how you want the team to execute. You cannot drop the ball. The example I give, if there was a split screen, I hope I think all of you are seeing Deolu and myself right now. Yep. Deolu, am I correct? That's what they're seeing. Right. Imagine, no offense to Deolu, in Deolu's screen, what you had there was Burna Boy or Tiwa Savage. And I suggest that more of you will be looking at Tiwa Savage and looking at me. Why? Because she's a celebrity. Well, guess what? As a leader, you are your team's celebrity. They're looking at you. They're looking up to you all the time. The way you dress, the way you walk, the way you carry yourself, the way you talk. So it's a cross you bear. And a trick that worked for me, which I'll share with you, is some of you may have heard of the program Candid Camera. What would you do if the camera was on you? And if you operate that way, you find that after a while,
in 21 hours,
your habits morph to become something that you can stand by. You have no unguarded moments. Think of leaders you respect. How do they look when they don't know you're watching them? They still look good, don't they? They still sit straight. They still come in punctually. There's a reason for that, because the path to success is quite narrow, but it's also quite well defined. So lead by example at all times. Now, Deolu, I know that it's 9 o'clock already. I'll just share this last example because I think it's topical. Leading by example, it's a cartoon. Trump's latest remedy for COVID-19 patients. Light at the end of the tunnel if you have survived the Lysol disinfectant that you have sprayed into yourselves. Let's also talk about not wearing masks. Let's also talking about not social distancing. His national security advisor picked up COVID yesterday. What am I saying? In any community, in any society, the followership will always become the leadership. You will always imitate your leadership. You will either reject your leader or become like your leader. America is 4% of the world's population and has 1/4 of the world's infections and deaths. This is all directly. I'm not in America, so I cannot be accused of politicking. We can speak to the evidence. Remember, what did we say a fact is? An irrevocable and irrefutable truth. I'll say the stats again. 4% of the world's population, 1/4 of the world's deaths. Look at what Jacinda Ardern did in New Zealand. They have been able to contain coronavirus. Contain this same corona that we're all dealing with was contained in 3 months flat. A month and a half ago, they declared no more corona cases. They don't have a vaccine. What do they have? They have a leader. Lead by example at all times. Okay, I think, yeah, and that's incidentally, so Trump, disinfectant, it sounded humorous. You'll see on the screen, 3 die in New Mexico after drinking hand sanitizer. Yeah? Leadership permeates the followership, okay? All right, the best habit for execution, the best habit, I've given you 8, or what's the best habit for execution? I'll bring it back, just do it. Don't procrastinate, believe you can do it, envision it, and then just do it. Do it today if you can, just do it. All right, Deolu, I think I will stop there because the rest of it is the book summary. And that I can mail. So let me just to tell the house, because I can see we have a lot of people on 101, very impressive. And maybe I'll just show you. So I won't summarize it. I'll show you the first page of the book summary. The book review, it's the 4 disciplines of execution. It's a really great book. And again, I tell people that I'm close to, people I mentor, that take advantage of digital, the same way some people still don't use Google Maps. Some people are so fight, hey, I hope there'll be no traffic on the way home. Google it, you will know. Google knows whether there'll be traffic or not. Similarly, hey, I haven't read a book of recent years because books are long. Read a book summary. They're book summaries, they're audio books, right? 10 pages and it takes out the essence and you don't lose anything. So what is this book about? It's a Stephen Covey book. It says Sean Covey, but it is Stephen Covey. And they're talking about 4 disciplines, and I'll show you what the disciplines are. Focus on the widely important. There are 20 things I want to do this year. You will still be on half of one, in contrast to the person that says there are 2 big things I'm going to do this year, All right. So focus on the wildly important. Act on the lead measures, not the lag measures. The lead measures are the things that influence success. By the time you're on a lag measure, you're tracking success. I need to go and visit customers today. That's lead measure. We have not sold anything this quarter. That's a lag measure. Focus on the lead measures. Okay? Keep a compelling scoreboard. You must track things. You cannot improve. The oldest quote in the world is one of the most poignant for execution. You cannot improve what you don't measure. Okay? And then create a cadence. What a lovely word. Create a cadence of accountability. Okay? And remember, I gave you the mantra for accountability. My promise made is my promise kept. So when you have that mantra, you find out that you will always be a winner. The biggest reason why it's going to happen is because you said it will. Okay? So this is what what Delu will be sending you if he has his email. He'll be sending you. I just summarized for you what those 4 points are. But it allows me to go to my thank you slide and say thanks. That was fun, and I'll be glad to take any comments. Apologies, we're at 9:04. But if you do have any questions, Delu, I'm happy to take them.
Okay, thank you very, very much. I think that's a lot crammed into the last 1 hour. And okay, so of course the comments are coming in. Awesome. I got value. Thank you, sir. Okay, excellent. So I'd like us to prepare our questions very quickly. I have just one question currently in the box. So if you have a question you'd like to ask, please ask your question. I'm going to start with mine. While you were talking, there was something you mentioned, and I'm basically asking this question because I want to know, and also because I want to give them a little time to also quickly populate their questions. There was an acronym for Communicate to Ignite that you said you are going to wait until we ask. So it's a test of whether we are listening. If we are listening, it is CCAR. What does it mean, and how do you communicate to ignite?
Okay, I'll give you an example, and I'll answer it the way I do it in learning sessions. So what I do in a learning session, I ask people, please define communication, and they give you the one I said, a message from A to B with a check back to see whether it was understood. If not, they give a feedback. For me, that's 50% of communication. And then I demonstrate it by saying, dear Luke, can you leave the room? And then I ask the class, did you hear what I said? What did I say? Dear Luke, can you leave the room? Have I communicated? At that stage, the class starts going, we're not sure. We ask why. Cut a long story short. What did I say? Dear Luke, can you leave the room? Where's Dear Luke? He's still in the room. I have not communicated. Remember I said your definition determines your destination and your direction. If you define your communication by the results you get from communication, then you'll become a better communicator. And the model we use for this is by defining communication as CCEAR. And what is CCEAR? Critical communication elements to achieve results. I'll say it again. Critical communication elements to achieve results. And the good news, there are only 4 communication elements. And what are they? Words, tone, expression, and body language. I'll say it again. Words, tone, expression, and body language. So in the same example I gave, Deolu, can you leave the room? Deolu doesn't leave the room. I'm sure if I now ask you, what would you change about the way I said it? You see that you start playing around with those 4. You may raise your tone, you may add words to, or you may change your expression, and most likely you will change. If I'm seeing it on the chat, people are saying tone, people are saying body language. So that is what the drill sergeant uses. And that is what, so you cannot say, we have one more chance to achieve it. Team, please go and achieve it. We have one more chance. So you must be able to bring these to bear if you want to be a great communicator. And let me just add this. A public speaker and a presenter are 2 different things. If you have a choice to become one or the other, please become a presenter. I don't have much time, which is why I'm going straight to the answer. A good public speaker may not be a good presenter. A good presenter will always be a good public speaker. Okay? Good?
Okay, thank you very much.
Excellent. Good.
Very clear, yes. Someone is asking a question. What do you do to keep your team motivated in the face of conflicts and adversity?
Fantastic. In the face of conflict and adversity, the biggest thing that's going to drive your team is what they see on you.
Mm.
So the example I use, the stock market has crashed, is different from a team, the stock market went down today. So we need to come up with a remedial solution for our portfolio. You're saying the same thing, but the second one has brought you closer to a solution immediately, while the first one, the statement, has made the solution even less likely. So in times of crisis is when the true leaders step forward. The way you talk, the way you motivate. I'll give you a little motivational tip. I did this on a call 4 days ago. The concept of criticism and concept of praise. Rebuke in private and praise in public. Oh my goodness. You wanted to praise Layemi. You called her into your office to praise her. You have wasted something that could galvanize the team in times of crisis. You wanted to rebuke Layemi and you went out to the open floor to her desk to rebuke her. You are rebuking the entire team. Okay, so these are the little things that allow you to calibrate your team for solutions, to calibrate them to be a masterfully executing team. The little things make a difference. Rebuke in private, praise in public.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much. Someone else is asking, Samuel Faboyede is asking, how do you communicate to ignite fire where there's a lack of trust or misunderstanding?
Yes. The biggest thing that or the worst thing you can do as a leader is to lie. And you can lie in terms of telling untruths, or you can lie in terms of a clear lack of integrity. Do what I say, not what I do. Now, if there's lack of trust, you must deal with the trust first before you then start building on the platform. You don't have a team where there's no trust. Let's first start from there, and that's a fact. And again, I said be data-driven. I'll give you an example. I was HR director in Cadbury. When I was made HR director, I was told in London. And while I was going, yes, I'm going to become, that was my first board position. He said, but remember, you're going to have to lay off 600 people. Well, I've done the Booz Allen Hamilton survey, and we're downsizing around the world. You're going to have to lay off 600 people. So I did something that was smart. I said, give me 6 months. And I used 6 months to build trust in that organization. Now, the terrain then, the last time that organization laid off people, they laid off 6 people, the directors had to jump the fence because they had industrial revolt. Nigerian breweries at that time, an HR manager was killed. This was way back. That was the terrain. It was the days of IR. And I was being asked to lay off not 6, not 60, 600 people. So I had to build trust. So I'm trying to give some detail because it's a very powerful question. I'll give you a couple of ways in which I did it. We had 2 canteens. 3 teams, sorry. We had non-management canteen, management canteen, and director's canteen. Which canteen do you think I used to eat in?
Non-management.
I used to eat in the non-management canteen. So what would that mean? The CFO would be looking for the HR director and would say, where is Tunde? They'll say, oh, he's eating lunch. And he'll go down to the director's canteen. He won't see me. He'll go to the manager's, he won't see me. He will go down, CFO will go down to the non-management canteen and would see me sitting next to a security man and a forklift driver. Listen to this. And the CFO will not join us. So you now have a forklift driver, a security man, CFO, and HR director having lunch together. You need to know what that did to breaking down barriers, breaking down the walls, creating trust. So 6 months later, when I had to do the layoff, I don't like to, nobody would like to do the layoff. I got a national commendation from the union, national commendation, that we don't condone layoffs, but if you're going to lay off, that is how you lay off. I did the layoff not on a Friday night, as was the norm then. So if you want to faint, go and faint in your house. Nobody will see you. I did the layoff at the end of the night shift, 6 a.m. All the directors, I insisted, were standing with me on barrels of milk in the middle of the factory. And then to the question that was asked as well, I had to give the right type of communication to the 600 people who had just finished their shift. We are the lucky ones. We are still a family. We're going to nominate people who are going to stand by the people who are leading us today. We had 2 years supply of product, not sent to their houses. At the gate, we sent them off with pride, not with embarrassment. And the biggest punchline for this, for me, was many years later. I had left Cadbury, I had left Guinness, I was now in Braincraft. My wife and I were in church, and somebody tapped me and gave me a note, and there was somebody 5 rows down that was waving at me. My wife read the note. It said, "You were the greatest HR director the organization ever had. May God keep you, you know." And I looked at the person, I couldn't recognize him. When I went outside, he reintroduced himself. And the moral of the story, he was one of the 600 people that were sacked. So communication works if you have trust. If you don't have trust, you don't have communication. The minute you say it, you turn your back, they yimu, you know that lovely Yoruba expression, they yimu at you. Okay, so you build the trust first before you then ladder on the communication. I hope that addressed the question.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Excellent.
Very well. There's a final question there tonight. It says, how do you revamp a failed leadership to refire the team? So
how do you revamp a failed leadership?
Yeah.
Is that a failed prior leadership or a failed self-leadership? Is it a former leader, or is it you were failing? And well, the funny thing, my answer works for both. My answer works for both. Okay. Let me do the tougher one. Let me do the tougher one. Your team is failing, and your team has been given one more chance to get things right. Okay. And what you have to do, you have to build on where we left off on the last question. You have to start from trust, and you have to start from openness. Now, but you also then have to lead. So you have to check. I've given you 8 habits here. Draw up your checklist and see how many of those you're delivering on as a leader for yourself. And you'll probably find one of those that are missing, which is impacting on why it's not working with the team as well. That's the first thing I'll say. The second thing I'll say is this. If you're a good leader, your team will win. But your team needs to know you're a good leader. And a good leader is not about transactions. It's not about instructions. It's not about statements. There's a principle called the Johari window. Some of you may know it. And of the population that know it, some of you may think it's theoretical. It's not theoretical. What is the Johari window principle? There are things about you that are seen by others. There are things about you that are known by others. There are things about you that are not seen by others, but are known by some. There are things about you that you know, but others do not know. And then the best thing is that there are things about you that you know and others can see. And that should be the biggest window. The more people know who you really are, the more impact you have on them. Now, I'll give you 2 encouragements to use this principle as a leader. And remember, we are all leaders. No matter who's listening in on this call, at the very minimum, you're leading yourself. Remember that, okay? So the 2 things I would encourage you, if you're leading a team of people, to use the Johari window, is that if you're leading people at work, statistics will tell you that 80% of your awake time is spent in the workplace. So you should have your best relationships in the workplace. Luckily for you, you have good relationships at home. But your workplace, where the money is coming from, is where you need to have really good relationships. And the more people know about you, the better the relationships will be. The second thing is to give you a proof. Do you notice how many personal examples are given in these, in the 90 minutes I've spoken for now? And I bet you, looking at the comments I'm seeing here, you find that the personal comments I've given, I've mentioned my sister's name, I've mentioned, you notice that it draws you closer to me, even for that moment where we're transacting. How much more when we're leading? People know that my leader has challenges at home, like me, so he's a man like me, then the trust is there. So you have a failed leadership, you have to be honest, you have to do your audit as to what caused the failure. It will be easy to do it for the team, it will be easy to do it against the results you were set, but you need to do it for your leadership as well. And that's why I said, check back against the checklist. It doesn't have to be my checklist. I said it wasn't an exhaustive checklist, but I can stand by it's a good checklist. And you'll find out that you do the team audit and you do your leadership audit, and then you have a framework, a path towards the future success of that team. The biggest thing is to turn that team into a PMPK team, and that team will be delivering by the end of the year. PMPK, your promises made are your promises kept. Get them to believe that and you will deliver.
Awesome. Thank you very much. There's a question I just sneaked in as well. And it says, what can you do as a leader when your team members think they deserve more despite your good works, despite all the good you're doing for them? They are, they feel they deserve more. They are, what they call the terminology now. They feel entitled.
Good. Entitled, you have to mentor them. And mentorship at times can mean difficult conversations. But here's my take on difficult conversations. There's no such thing as a difficult conversation. A difficult conversation means you're having a delayed conversation. You're talking about something you should have spoken about a long time ago. So remember what I said about the beautiful city of Rome was built daily? So what are the daily conversations you're having? Appraisals tend to be difficult because you're having lots of narratives that you're hearing for the first time at the appraisal. So what story are you painting? Are you only showing them the good? You need to be talking the good, the bad, and the ugly on a daily basis. Remember what I said, be data-led, be evidence-led. So when you're data-led, when you're evidence-led, then a fact is something that cannot be refuted. A fact is irrevocable. But I will encourage, mentor your team, be bold enough to mentor your team. I will not mention the name of the company. Should I mention? I will not mention the name of the company. A blue chip into pharmaceuticals, yeah? I hope I've narrowed it down, but yeah, okay. I went there to, when I was in Braincraft, now I went there to meet with the procurement director. I was in the reception and I was privileged to be there. This was early morning when one of their directors walked in. I didn't know the director, but I could tell he was the director because of the way he walked in. I'll show you. He walked in and then he greeted the security guard. Oh, good morning. Oh, how are you? Wow. I was blown away. I was see director swag. When I was director, I didn't do anything like that. I was so impressed. You know the funny thing? 3 weeks later, this director reached out to me on LinkedIn. And of course I said, accept. Who doesn't want to, follow a director? But before you accept somebody on LinkedIn, you say, show more. So let me know a bit more about this director, right? Because I recognize the face. And the director's profile, when expanded, read assistant brand manager. He wasn't a director. He was an assistant brand manager, already working with a director's swag. I still mentor him today. So you can imagine what the first mentoring conversation was about. Remember what I said earlier on about the habits that do not focus on the title, focus on your role. So there's a huge aspect about ensuring that you inspire yourself, you envision things for yourself, and self-humility, go through the audit and take your learnings as a leader and be transparent to yourself. And then you get the best out of yourself, and that leadership tends to be the most inspiring to people who are following you. I hope that addressed the question.
Very clearly.
Thank you.
Very clearly. Okay, so I think that's all for the questions asked. I would just like to add one little extra question, just for my own curiosity. So going through
Sure.
your profile, I see HR director, I see marketing director, and these are divergent, these are like, your HR, you're not involved in the business, your marketing, you're directly
Yes.
involved in the business. I see some elements
Yes.
of, strategy and others of them. How have you been able to combine all of this within, of course,
Yes.
some of us are forced into, we're marketing directors now because we will have to market when we're doing our own businesses. But how are you able
Yes.
to marry all of that? What's the connecting line?
Okay. The connecting line is being ready.
Mm.
And how can you be ready? Quite often, a lot of people don't recognize when opportunity comes knocking because it's disguised as work. Again, that's Franklin Roosevelt. He has some really powerful phrases. And the best way of being ready is by being ever ready. So I will give you an example. I come from a family of go-getters. And so there are many examples. My elder brother is a surgeon. My elder sister is the first Nigerian to have a book in the Cambridge Library, right? Let me share one from my younger sister. My younger sister used to work at British American Tobacco, and she was a fast tracker. She did a stint in Dubai and came back tracking very well. And they said, "Hey, come go to London again." You know what? It's okay. I've done Dubai. No, come to London. You're really that good. But hey, your husband can come with you. Your children can go with you. Relocate. We'll get you a place. And so they moved her to London. In fact, they moved her to Windsor. You know where Windsor Castle is? And got her a beautiful house. Now, this house is really beautiful because my wife saw the house. My wife went in summer, saw the house. The way she described the house, I was quite afraid because we had also bought a house and she didn't describe my own house like that. A lovely house. Now, I never saw the house. Why? 3 months after doing a relocation she did not ask for, after moving her kids, her family out, BAT downsized. And she didn't have a job anymore. They offered her a lower job, but again, I mentioned self-audit. She said, no, that job is not me. Now, you see what I mean by AQ? Can you imagine how devastating that would be? Long story short, 3 months later, she was in another job. Why? Because she was internally marketable and externally marketable. You never know when the opportunity will come, nor do you know when the challenge will come. So you need to be ever ready. When was the last time you Googled something to help you on your job? Right? So what do you do to grow your own marketability day by day? So you're always ready if you are ever ready. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I'm sure it clearly does. Okay, thank you very much tonight, Mr. Falase. I think it's amazing. I think it's been a lot of knowledge today. For those of us who are those who are watching from Facebook, we've been talking to Mr. Tunde Falase, MD of Braincraft Limited. Falase, MD of Braincraft Limited. It's been awesome today. Our notes are full, and we need to download those notes into our minds and get them into our action. And I think the key phrase from today is just do it. I don't know if you have any parting shots for us. You can just give us a parting shot and then we'll bring the meeting to a close.
We are in very interesting times. The world has been turned upside down. This is where it is a time for leadership. And remember, the first person you lead is yourself, and then your team, and then the organization, depending on the level. But lead yourself, be transparent with that. Have your own route. But remember this, Rome was built beautifully day by day. Your habits are what will guaranteed get you through the hard times. Remember this, impossible is I am in the wrong place. The impossible is really possible if you lead yourself to success. And the biggest thing that leads you to success is The promises you make are the promises you keep, right? So be the best that you can be. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. I think on that note, PMPK, I like that very much. I'm going to keep that in my left hand so that so I don't use it to eat. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful. I'm going to, connect with